The Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 7 didn't just raise the stakes, it detonated them. The final moments left us on a cliffhanger that could completely reshape the Russell family's future. George Russell has been shot, and the implications of this moment are far bigger than just a single act of violence. It's personal, it's calculated, and it's devastating. Clay, who's been seething since their professional fallout, was always more than just a disgruntled former associate. The way he was humiliated, cut out, and ultimately rendered obsolete, especially after Larry's triumphant return from Arizona with the copper deal, left him a desperate man. And desperate men do dangerous things. That final scene, with George being lured out under the guise of a delivery before bullets flew, feels unmistakably like Clay's parting gift. We're not just watching business rivals here. We're witnessing a man push so far into the shadows that he'll set fire to everything just to see it all burn. And while George has made enemies before, none have struck so directly and so violently. It's unclear how serious the injury is, but if George doesn't survive, everything changes, not just for his family, but for the power dynamics of New York itself. And in the midst of that chaos, Bertha Russell finds herself increasingly isolated. For all her social victories, especially now that Mrs. Astia has basically handed her the crown of high society, her personal life is unraveling. Her husband is distant. Her son is scarred by the fallout of his broken engagement. And she's facing the cold reality that no one in her own family truly supports her. That quiet moment when she excitedly shared plans for her ball, only to be ignored by both George and Larry, said more than any confrontation could. The ball, the prestige, the social climbing, it's all starting to look hollow when you're doing it alone. Speaking of Larry and Marion, that relationship has taken a complicated turn. Marion's decision to end the engagement without giving Larry a clear explanation was frustrating at first, but it became understandable once she explained her trauma. She's been let down by men before, and when Larry lied, no matter how small the lie, it touched on every fear she's ever had. Still, Larry deserved a real chance to explain. His confession in the classroom showed remorse and honesty, and the conversation Marion later had with Jack, where he vouched for Larry's whereabouts, seemed to open the door to reconciliation. Whether Marion can trust again is another question entirely, but it's clear the foundation is still there, even if it's cracked. Oscar's storyline this week was perhaps the most emotionally gutting. The death of John Adams was already tragic, but watching Oscar mourn in silence, unable to publicly express his love or his pain, was heartbreaking. He wasn't just grieving a partner, he was grieving a future that had finally felt possible, and now was ripped away. The scene where he returned home and broke down in front of Marion and Ada was one of the most powerful of the season. Their quiet support, especially Marion telling him she knew and that she'd never abandon him, was beautiful and deeply moving. And yes, even Agnes likely knew the truth. It's moments like this that make the Gilded Age shine, when it stops being about wealth and power and instead focuses on the humanity buried beneath it all. Meanwhile, the budding romance between Gladys and the Duke is turning into something more genuine than anyone expected. Initially, their relationship seemed transactional, arranged for status and money. But this week made it clear that something real might be developing. The Duke defied Lady Sarah's manipulations by not only refusing to send Gladys back, but by suggesting she move out entirely. He's beginning to stand on his own, challenging the toxic grip his sister has had over him for far too long. It's refreshing to see Gladys potentially stepping into a relationship where she's truly wanted, not just traded like a piece on a chessboard. But no subplot this week sparked more tension than Peggy Scott's. When Ernestine let slip to Mrs. Kirkland that Peggy had lost a child, it was clear Mrs. Kirkland would weaponize that information without hesitation. And she did. Her attempt to paint Peggy as tainted was every bit as cruel and calculated as you'd expect from someone who sees people as pieces to control. Thankfully, Dr. Kirkland finally stood up to his mother, declaring his care for Peggy and demanding that she be allowed to speak for herself. Still, you can feel the friction mounting. Will Peggy accept the relationship knowing the weight of his mother's disapproval? Or will this become another heartbreak in a series of challenges she's had to face? There's so much complexity woven into this episode, from Oscar's quiet grief to Bertha's crumbling influence at home, to George's near-death experience that it's hard not to be impressed with just how well this show balances it all. And let's not forget Ward's book, another masterstroke of chaos. His smug declaration that he created the 400 and mold high society like a puppet master might have come off as comical if it weren't so dangerously close to the truth. This idea of people being pawns, whether it's Bertha using Larry and Marion for optics, or Mrs. Kirkland playing God with her son's future, it's a chilling recurring theme this season. As we head into the finale, the stakes have never been higher. Will George survive? Can Bertha reclaim her family before it's too late? Will Marion let herself love Larry again? And what about Peggy? Will she get the future she deserves? There's no doubt about it. The Gilded Age is at the peak of its storytelling. But what do you think? Will George Russell live? Should Marion forgive Larry? And is the Duke really falling in love with Gladys? Or is it another act? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because next week's finale is going to be unforgettable.